This is coverage of the 2022 NADA show on CBT News.
Hi everyone, Jim Fitzpatrick here at the NADA 2022 convention in Las Vegas. Thanks so much for joining us this morning. We're joined by Chris Walsh, who's president of Reynolds & Reynolds. I know you know that brand. It's just a phenomenal company here in retail automotive. Thank you so much for joining us, Chris.
Oh, you're welcome, Jim. It's great to see you again.
Sure. So
and live in person.
Well, imagine that.
Even better.
Exactly. And you know, as you know, Vegas is always a big draw for dealers. They love coming out here for NADA, and it seems like there's a great buzz in the air. Have you found that to be the case with dealers coming in?
Yeah, I think this is, I'll be honest, the 20 NADAs that I've come to.
Sure.
I'm not always real excited to be here because it's it's tiring.
It is.
You're on
it's a
your
long
feet
day.
A lot. I said, but this one for me was a lot different. I was really excited to be here. To reconnect with friends and to meet new people and just to be back to some semblance of normal, in the industry and showcasing our products.
Yeah. And it's your first NADA as president of Reynolds & Reynolds, right?
Yes,
That's pretty cool. How's it going so far?
So it's going great. Our traffic has been, really phenomenal.
Yeah.
Even more important than that, I think the quality of the conversations that we're having has been really, really powerful. People are staying a really long time. There's a lot going on in our industry right now that everyone's really trying to figure out. There's a lot of change, and I think rightfully so. Dealers are concerned about how they can embrace these changes, and not just survive but thrive in the market.
That's right. So there's a lot of talk out there about hybrid omni-channel buying experiences. Talk to us about that, because there is a lot of concern on behalf of the dealers. What is what's the future car buying experience going to be like, not just for the consumer, but for the dealer, right?
Yeah, what the future, I don't know. I wish I knew the answer to that. I don't know. But, we are seeing it obviously evolve. We are seeing customers, do more on the front end of the customer journey, online, and then, still come into a dealership at certain points, whether it's to test drive or to obtain financing or to finalize the deal. So I personally think it's going to remain a hybrid approach. I think dealers still have a lot of value to offer a consumer from an in-store perspective. I still think you buy cars and lots of things from people you trust, and I think the dealers have really good people that's their face of their franchise, and so I think it's going to continue to evolve, but I think it will be a hybrid approach is what consumers will take.
Many of the dealers that I talk to, and many of them are your customers in fact, say that when I ask them the question, what's the future of automotive retailing, does it lie online? If I was having this conversation with you 10 years from now, what would the percentage be of consumers that are buying their cars completely online, much the way we see maybe a Carvana or a Vroom conducting their business with their buyers? And many of the presidents of these large dealer groups and small dealer groups have come back and said, it's not so much the percentage that's going to be done completely online. What we're focused on, and I'm paraphrasing here, is that we want to be able to give that option to those customers, whether it be 5% of them or 50% of them. We want to give them the power to make that determination. Have you found that to be the case, and is that something that Reynolds is focused on working with dealers on?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely what's going to happen. I think that the potential struggle that we might have if we're not careful is that when the customer's online and they're going through part of their journey and they're interacting with the dealer in some way, shape, or form, and then when they move to an in-store, it can't feel different to the customer. It has to feel the same, and it has to be connected. So, if you're chatting with a customer about a vehicle and maybe you've had some payment discussions, and then they come in the store and they feel like you're restarting that process again, that's not what they want. That's the friction that they're trying to get rid of. So I think while I think the hybrid approach is good in lots of ways, I think it just presents some challenges that we need to be cognizant of and be aware that we have to make it the same in both scenarios.
Yeah, for sure. Talk to us about you've got a phrase, retail anywhere. Talk to us about that. What does that mean?
So retail anywhere is a little bit like the hybrid approach and online approach that we just talked about. And it's really simply when I think about digital retailing, I really still think it is dealership operations at the end of the day. So how does a dealership retail a vehicle, a new or used vehicle, or you could also be talking about fixed operations.
Sure.
And so how do they do that? And then how do you take that process and maximize it outside the four walls of the dealership, so that when you do have a hybrid approach, you're able to meet that customer where they are, interact with them in such a way that makes a value-added partner in the discussion, keeps the customer progressing in the journey, so that they do end up moving forward with whatever it is that they're doing. So it's really just meeting the customer wherever they are, and where we fit in is providing the products and services that enable the dealer to be able to accomplish these things. So how do you take your process and move it online, and how do you make it consider when the customer comes back in, how do we make those things match, and how do we make the flow such that when the customer first interacts and they start to give you information and you're collecting information, how do we make that go from that point, whether it might be from an initial touch point on a website, all the way through to the signing ceremony, when they're buying the car, and it flows seamlessly end to end.
Sure. So how exactly do you connect the touch points from department to department?
Well, we've often taken the approach that there's the term DMS, that's out there, and we've used that term for 50 years. And several years ago we decided we were going to start looking at the DMS as an RMS, so a retail management system. And you could obviously say, well, it's just a marketing term, for DMS, just to make it sound different. And I guess there would be some logic to that. But the value to us was not in what the name of it was. The value to us is the way we looked at a DMS differently as an RMS. And what I mean by that is that when we would build things or when we would buy things, and we would try to integrate them into the Aera system, we felt like the integration of those things wasn't nearly enough. Whether something we're building or buying, it needs to be deeply embedded into the DMS, because I don't know that integration is enough anymore. I think if you want to have a seamless end-to-end process, whether it's with a customer online or even a customer in the service drive, you need to have things flow seamlessly, and in order to do that, they have to be very deeply embedded in the DMS. So that's how we're able to connect those touch points, is just build things all in the DMS.
Do you have any examples of that?
Well, I think Gubagoo is probably the best example, and the most recent one. So, we obviously, bought Gubagoo. I've been partnering, with Brad Title and his organization, and they're phenomenal, people. And what was interesting to me is that when we bought them, I felt like this is a perfect marriage of Reynolds, which really understands dealership operations, and Gubagoo, which really understands the kind of the front end, so the website business and the digital business and the consumer experience business. So I felt like it was that perfect marriage. So when we started to understand what their platform looked like, we started to, and worked pretty quickly to embed that into our DMS, so that when a customer is using, whether it's on the chat side or whether it's on the VR side, as that deal progresses, that it's integrated with the CRM tool, it's integrated with desking, it's integrated with F&I and inventory and accounting, and even service. Once the customer buys, the relationship doesn't end. So, and we need to be cognizant of that. So it was real important to us to make it so it is completely embedded into the into the RMS.
You made a lot of waves out there in the auto industry when you announced that acquisition, because I think a lot of people said that's like the perfect fit, right?
Yeah, it's a great company.
There's no question. And today's dealer really wants to be partnering with a company that's able to bring all of those suite of services together, so it is a seamless transaction for their consumers, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Reynolds has been one of the names out there that dealers have trusted for so many years.
Yeah, I mean, I like to think so. I've been here 35 years.
Wow.
I love this business. But it's changing. But that's also one of the good things about this business, is that it is always changing. So it's challenging for sure.
We had the opportunity to sit down with John Murphy, who is as you probably know, is the lead analyst over automotive at Bank of America. And we asked him, what does the future look like? What does 2022 and 2023 look like with the war in mind, and with the interest rates and gas prices and such? And he said, well, here's my take on it. If we gave dealers 18 million new vehicles to sell, we'd sell every one of them in 2022. The demand is still there for dealers, right? It's just incredible. It's such a great industry to be in, and as we move into the EV revolution, and dealers are going to need to line themselves with the right vendors to take care of that as well, right?
Yeah, and the EV thing is a little bit interesting to me, just because it's going to take us a long time, to get there, right? There's probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 290 million internal
right.
combustion engines on the
right.
road today.
Yeah.
And we don't have the ability, to meet that kind of demand on the EV
Right.
side yet. And,
Yeah.
and who knows how long it'll take for that to evolve. So it's going
right.
to be, a journey before we get there. But
That's
it's,
right.
it's going to be one that's going to be fun to be a part of.
And with cars lasting longer and longer, all those vehicles still need to be serviced.
Yeah.
If we hit the switch tomorrow on EVs, to your point, we have 290 million vehicles that still need to be serviced, right?
Doing everything you can
Yeah.
to get a customer to come into the service drive and to stay with you.
That's right.
In servicing their vehicles it's just as important as it's ever been.
That's right. That's right. So where does Reynolds go from here? What should customers be excited about?
Well, we're going to continue to evolve and transform,
Okay.
our organization, and we've talked a little bit about this, before.
Yeah.
I've mentioned that I felt like there's an opportunity for us to be a little bit more flexible in the way we do business, both with, when I say customers, I'm talking about OEMs, I'm talking about, retailers.
Right.
We have to serve both in some fashion or another. So we're going to continue to do that. We're going to continue to, build the best products that we can build, and sometimes that might mean we don't build, that we acquire things.
Sure.
Like Ubigu, we're taking a hard look at lots of companies that are here right now,
Sure.
And how could they fit in and complement the products that we have.
Wow.
And
So we
and
might
make
hear about
potential-
some new acquisitions.
Yeah, potentially. There's a lot of activity in the acquisition side.
Yeah.
Right now, a lot of companies are looking, but I also think there's the opportunity to partner, with people sometimes,
Right.
and just leverage what they're really good at, and how can we kind of get some kind
Sure.
of a marriage together where we can both mutually benefit
Sure.
from it. So we're going to continue to transform our company. I also think I want to be a bigger part of the the automotive ecosystem,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's with OEMs or partners or just the industry, in general.
Right.
How can we, have a bigger voice and a bigger influence in
Yeah.
helping to solve some of the problems that retailers are facing today. I mean, it's been a pretty constant theme that a lot of retailers are a little concerned about the future of the franchise
Yeah,
model.
I know.
And
No question
I'm
about
a
it.
big believer in the franchise model,
Yeah.
and but it's going to evolve. But the idea of how do we help enable dealers to be more successful. I mean, at the end of the day, I think our role is to help retailers compete and win,
Right.
in their space, and we're going to continue to be focused on doing that.
Yeah, that's great. Big vision from Chris Walsh, the president of Reynolds & Reynolds. Check Reynolds & Reynolds out if you weren't able to get out here to the 2022 NADA convention in Vegas. They've got an incredible booth here. It's incredibly busy. So thank you so much for taking up all the time that we took up from you. So I'd love to visit with you again, see how these things are rolling out.
Would love to, Jim. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right.